Well, I've started recording, so.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Okay. What are we going to talk about?
Well, we got a lot to talk about, I think. This thing with Stacy's mom singer dying. Did you see that?
I saw that. I don't know the group at all, but I do know the song. Yeah.
All right. Well, welcome to the show first, everybody. My name is Jason. The other guy is Keith. We are here to talk to you for about an hour about stuff as we coop up for COVID. And we've got a lot to talk about. Actually, we have no agenda. We honestly just this is going to be spontaneous, which is the way I wanted to do it anyway. Because if we get too rigid, we wouldn't be able to talk about it. So the first thing, on a more serious note, is the lead singer of. Now I can't even remember the band. I just had them up. Let me see. Hang on one second. Let me find it. Fountains of Wayne.
Stacy's mom,
Fountains
guys.
of Wayne. Now, can you hear this? Let me play this. Let me see if you can hear it. If you can't hear it, just tell me. I'm starting now.
Negatory.
Okay, so I'm playing Stacy's mom for our listeners,
Right.
and a little snippet there that shouldn't get us in trouble. He died. He was like 52, which means he's about my age, and so he is another person taken by coronavirus, and that's. I don't want to say it's scary, but that's eye-opening, I think. It's really there. I just also read today that not that I want to start out on such a serious note, but then there was another surgeon who is also, I either think he died. Yes, he was like separated some conjoined twins or something. This thing has no bias. It's just going to kill whoever it wants to kill, I think, at this point. It's very – I'm actually at this point glad I'm harbored up in my house, although we just went to the BX and had some food, but we were hungry. So it's scary, man, isn't it? It's just weird to see all this stuff happening right now.
It really is. I heard this morning also the patriarch of the Marcellus musical family was taken. Branford Marsalis' father.
Oh, okay. I was like, whoa.
And of course, we talked the other day about Joe Diffie. So,
Right.
Coronavirus don't care about your status.
I just think this is just we're gonna see a lot more names. It's really freaking out. All right, let's talk about something funny. Aside from working, what have you been doing today? And crapping.
Oh man, I didn't know you recorded all that. Okay. Yes.
I may not use it, but I mean, that's what you've been doing, isn't it?
Yeah, basically, yeah. I've been writing stories.
Yeah.
A story and listening to AFM radio and running up the stairs every now and then.
You have stairs? I didn't know you had a second story. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Now I do have a bathroom on the lower floor here, but it's just not as decked out and situated as the one upstairs. So.
Okay. All right. That's the one you like to go do your business in. That's definitely the better choice.
Yes.
Okay.
It's not eye level for the street and that kind of thing.
I know you're looking out the window and saying the same thing we did on the first show, which is, fuck, it's a nice day to go golfing.
God, isn't it? I saw a guy mowing in a T-shirt and just, it drives me crazy that we can't do this. But you know what?
Yeah.
I saw something and I did want to say something about this. I saw something. Where's my phone? I took a picture of it on Facebook.
All right. Because we'll all see it.
It's tough to be told because this is going to sound funny. We're men of action. We're people of action.
Men of action.
That's right. And we want to be in the office working because that's where we work.
Right.
And so I saw something on Facebook I just wanted to mention, and somebody posted this. It says, you're not working from home. You are at your home during a crisis trying to work.
Yeah.
So, you have to think of it like that because you're doing your part during this crisis. Whether you like it or not, you're doing your part, and you're still trying to accomplish your mission. So that's the way I've got to get that in my head so I get it straight and do the job.
And I think that's the right way to do it is just say, okay, I have to get away from other people, and if I'm not sick, I should at least do my job. And that's what the federal government has given us the opportunity to do is say, okay, if you can go home and I don't like the word telework, but I mean, if you can work from home, you should do that. And if you can't, then you're on admin leave. I mean, for many, many people. So I not want to insult anybody who did not get that privilege who may work for the federal government, but I think that's pretty much the standard where we are. And then there are folks who just have to go home, right? I mean, they just have to be at home, and that's kind of that. So, I mean, it is a privilege, and I know how frustrated you are, man, as far as – because even Wednesday I was like, or what was it, Tuesday, right? No, Wednesday. I was like, there's nobody there, nobody, and only one person came down from the fingerprint office, right? She came down and did something, but then she left. And that was it. I mean, there was nobody on that hall that day. It was great. Aside from the phone ringing, that was literally the only noises made. So I was like playing docking, breaking the chains, because we had to use that break the chain RP hashtag. And then I found out Stefan also was listening to that song, so that was kind of some kinship there. But yeah, man, it's a completely different kind of situation. Even, again, the one touch point you and I have is 911. It wasn't like this. It was mostly like a week later. We were sort of doing the same stuff we were doing a week before, just with more cautiously, and then eventually we got a Patriot Act and on and on. But I mean, this is a game changer in so many ways. And even if you look out over the landscape of things, it's just different, man. It's just wholly different. And so, but I understand your frustration.
Yeah, and you're right. Being at Inject, Turkey for 9/11, that was, it was different. I was married at the time. We had small children. And it's totally different being here by myself now. Right. It is weird because even when I'm stuck at home, I'm still looking at the same four walls, and there is a benefit. Isn't there with everything that's going on?
I was just thinking, isn't there a bar nearby you, but you can't go to that because it's closed, right?
Can't go to that.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I can look out my front window and see it.
Right.
But that's the guy that was mowing the lawn I talked about earlier. But one thing that COVID is doing, if you can find a bright spot, is it is disrupting the television production. So everybody, what do you mean that's a bright spot? Because AFN is replaying shows like Covert Affairs,
Will and Grace,
and Psych. I
hadn't seen Will and Grace.
All these other things from several years ago that I liked, but then lost track of and things like that. So I started recording those.
And I know they have to do it, but it pisses me off because I have become a creature of routine in a lot of ways. And so I come home at night and I hang with my family, and part of the background noise that is my hang, and I could go right down the list. It's Wheel of Fortune. Not that we're into Wheel of Fortune, but that's what happens to be on. If it's on, we'll watch it. And then after that is Jeopardy, which I'm usually home in time for. Then after that is TMZ, so I get to watch 30 minutes of really ridiculous shit about people creeping on people at the LA airport and everywhere else around LA. So that's kind of fun.
The feud.
And then the feud, right? And then at 7 o'clock, everybody goes their separate ways. Annabelle goes up and gets ready for bed at night, shower and all that stuff. Dee Dee goes up and does her thing, and I come up to my office. I do my thing. I do my thing for a couple hours, and then I go to bed. Routine. Boom, boom, boom. Now came home the other day, and I'm like, Will and fucking Grace? Where did that come from, right? And then I remembered, AFN's got to switch their schedule because all the other productions have basically turned off, right? They've been shut off, so there's no programming. Right. AFN's just got to go, all right, let's pull some VHS tapes off the shelf or something like that.
And that's exactly what it looks like, too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I watched a little bit of Covert Affairs last night.
I don't remember that show. What was Covert Affairs? What was that?
It was a CIA thing with Piper Perabo and some other people you might recognize, but she played a young CIA agent, and
it rings a bell, but I just don't remember the show.
Yeah,
I just remember seeing Will and Grace come on, and I was like, "Are they running the old ones?" And then it had some dialogue about the president in it, and I was like, "Oh, it's a new one." And it was just it was weird. I remember sitting there with Dee Dee going, I remember this being much, much more funnier in the first run than this, because I don't remember, and I'm not being a prude or a stick in the mud, but I'm just watching it and nothing made me laugh, and I was like, maybe I'm getting, because I like the quick humor, I like the way it's written, right? But just nothing was making me laugh, and I was like, maybe it's just past my time on this, but right. So
all right, 6 degrees of separation from Keith to Will and Grace. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, so. You know who Sean Hayes is?
I do. Yeah, he's Just Jack, right.
He's Just Jack, right. So my second public affairs officer at Fort Sill is Larry Eisnagel.
Yes, I know the name. I know the name. I've never met Larry, but I know the name.
He's a former commandant at Dinfos.
Okay.
So he was at Fort Sill for 5 years, and we became great friends, still great friends.
All right.
Well, his son was set to join the Marine Corps, according to Larry, and they found out he was diabetic.
Ooh.
So there's another another situation there. But anyway, so Scott is his name, goes out and going to make his fortune in L.A. as a music guy, DJ, that kind of guy. Long story short, Jack or Sean Hayes and Scott Icenoggle are husband and husband.
Are you kidding?
So that I am not kidding.
Wow.
So that is my 6 degrees of separation to that. In fact, Scott has. You remember the movie Three Stooges that Sean Hayes was in?
No.
Did you ever see that? No. Well, Scott plays a beat up guy at, I think it was Dewey, Screwham and Howe law firm. I don't remember the exact name in the Three Stooges movie, and he's had some walk on roles on the new version of Will and Grace.
I just looked up Scott on the internet.
6 degrees of separation from Will and Grace. There you go.
So I just looked up Scott on the internet. Now there are thousands of pictures of him and Mr. Hayes together. So that's pretty incredible. That's pretty wild. So I don't have a 6 degrees story like that. That's a pretty good one, actually. So I'll have to hold off until I can think of a good one later on as we are talking about this. Okay, so you've heard about the wacko story of the day, right? The train thing. Did you hear about that?
Yes, that's out in your neck of the woods.
So if you're listening and you hadn't heard about it by now, yes, it is. There is I'll just read. This is from Yahoo News, who's getting it from ABC News, and the story leads: investigators arrested a California train engineer Tuesday after he allegedly derailed a train in a bid to crash into the USNS Mercy, the hospital ship treating COVID patients in the port of Los Angeles, to lessen the burden on the area. All right,
because
we really don't need to. Yeah, I know, because he thinks it's a deep state plot to take over the world or something like that, right? Is that kind of the gist of it?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said they were coming to, and I'm getting some bad feedback here if it's coming through. Yeah, he said he thought it was because the government's going to take over L.A.
No, you're good. There's no feedback. So we need to unpack this, but let me read a little more. Moreno allegedly ran the train at full speed off the end of the tracks near the Navy medical boat, smashing through several concrete and chain barriers. Well, trains are heavy. Before sliding through the parking lot nearly 250 yards from the Mercy. So he was still a little ways away, but kind of close. No one was injured and the boat wasn't damaged. However, the train leaked a substantial amount of fuel. All right, so the guy's name is here. It's not really relevant to what we're talking about. So let's unpack this part. Investigators arrested a train engineer after he allegedly derailed a train on a bid to crash. All right, how do you derail a train? Do the tracks just end, or is there like a steering wheel you got to go and you just sort of go like it's a speed film? Or
there's no steering wheel; it's all levers and that kind of thing, and it just depends. I think again, I'm not positive because I haven't, as you said, unpacked the story yet.
Right.
But the tracks may have ended at the dock.
That's what I was thinking. Okay.
Where the ship was coming in, yeah. Now, as far as how else do you derail, I don't want to give anybody any ideas, but you can be going too fast around a curve.
Well, so that's an easy one. I figured that, but I wasn't sure. I mean, I'm not a dummy, but I just never recall any sort of controls where you could like pop the train.
You're a very smart man.
That you could like pop the train off the rails or something like that. So that's the one that occurred to me was, all right, he had to be barreling ass and basically just rammed through the guard barrier or whatever that's at the end to stop the thing. All right, let's unpack the next piece.
There was a rumor, or a myth, I should say. When I was a child, there were railroad tracks behind my grandmother's house or down around the park. Mm-hmm. Supposedly, if you put a penny on the track, it would derail the train. So us boys and all of our smarts would put pennies on, not realizing what would happen if the train actually derailed, right? We would stand there and watch it as the train went by,
right?
You know, with the wind blowing and all that.
Right.
If that thing would have actually derailed, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
No, you'd be in jail somewhere, and then you'd be not reading the story going, I remember when I derailed a train once. So then I guess the other part to unpack here is in a bid to crash into the United States naval ship Mercy. So
Comfort?
No, it's the Mercy. So I think they had to pull the Mercy out of dry dock. They pulled one of them out of dry dock somewhere because they had shelved one of them and the other one I think was still working. But I think this is the one they pulled out of dry dock. I'm not sure. Let me just waste a couple of minutes to see if that's in the story. It's not. Oh, by the way, they're saying he acted alone, not a pre-planned attack. But so he's attempting, just so we're clear, he's attempting to crash a train into a boat. So he had to think about this a minute and go, you know what? I think I can do it. I think if I gain enough speed, I can plow through all this shit, go through that parking lot full of Fiestas and Yugos, not Yugos, how old am I? Fiestas and Saturns and Toyotas, and then I'll reach the boat. But as you said, why would he want to crash into it? And the answer is, you've read more about this than I have, some sort of deep state thing.
Right. It's
wacky.
It just boggles the mind.
It boggles
really
the fucking mind. And these are the things that we as professionals and we as people have to deal with just getting through the crisis. This guy's trying to crash a train into a boat. And this is why truth is stranger than fiction, right? This is why, as a writer, I'm like, you know what? In my book, I'm going to have this train reach the end of the line, crash through, go through a parking lot, and hit the USS Mercy, which is, if I'm looking at the photo, of the dock in Los Angeles, it's still, and I'm just spitballing here, it's still another 150 to 200 yards off the shore before he even reaches the boat. So that means he would have had to hydroplane the train like a rock, right? He'd skip a rock across and then somehow cause damage to the Mercy. And that's just, and I couldn't write that. Somebody would read, an editor would read that. I would submit that.
Nobody would believe it.
Nobody would believe it. They're like, this is stupid. Rewrite this. Trains can't do that. And then voila, the person who did this, whose name is, now I'm going to say his name because it's relevant, Eduardo Moreno, 44, who is expected to, or allegedly did this, is expected to appear in court Wednesday for arraignment on train wrecking charges. Now, that's not a bad thing to have on a resume, but I wonder if that's a felony or a misdemeanor.
I would think with the amount of destruction,
wrecking
trains
charges
are not known for their water skipping ability.
No. Yeah, exactly. And I'm not sure Mr. Moreno allegedly realized that. The train wrecking charge alleged in the criminal complaint carries a statutory maximum penalty of 20 years in a federal prison, but it doesn't say whether or not it's a felony. Let's see. La, la, la. Okay, the DOJ in California has released something. It says, admitted in two separate interviews with law enforcement that he intentionally derailed and crashed the train. Still looking for it. Okay. It doesn't say if it's a felony or but I'm guessing it's a felony since it's a federal crime. And if it's worth 20 years, right? It's got to be a felony of some sort.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
That's nuts. That's just crazy. I mean, I've done some crazy stuff in my time. I once rolled in my neighborhood, I once rolled a bowling ball down a street in the middle of the day. And I don't think I hit any cars, but it's just one of those things that could have hit a parked car on the left or a parked car on the right, but I rolled it and kind of ran. I mean, I've done some kind of crazy stuff, but I mean, crashing train into boat, I mean, I'd have to be pretty high, which I've never been before, or pretty drunk, which I have been before, in order to do that. And I mean, what's your equivalent to that? What is your sort of real life? I mean, do you got any good Oklahoma stories for that?
Well, I have to be cognizant of the statute of limitations. I did, in high school, we would drive around and light off bottle rockets and things like that.
Yeah.
I may or may not have allegedly played a little bit of mailbox baseball.
Okay.
But how long ago was I in high school? My God, over 30 years ago.
I'm pretty sure you're good.
All right.
That's a misdemeanor anyway. So what?
Yeah. And other than that, I was, again, growing up a military brat on many military bases. Now, when I was in high school, we lived on the economy, as it were. But growing up in a military household, I lived under the edict that if I got in trouble for something like that, and my dad got in trouble for something like that because of me, I got in trouble again at home.
Yeah, that's how it worked. Your dad would beat your ass with a belt or a hand. Exactly.
Well, it's, if say, because, let's see, we were at Scott Air Force Base in 1980. There was literally a cable 2 feet off the ground right next to the bike path, and then 30 yards ahead was the end of the runway. Wow. I watched the Thunderbirds come in and land for an air show one Thursday afternoon.
Yeah.
30 feet from the end of the runway.
Did you
and
attempt?
We were always
did you attempt to hit them with a baseball bat?
I did not.
Okay, all right. Well, see,
but
you're still
we
okay.
always joked about, hey, let's just run out of the runway and run back.
That would be a federal crime for sure.
But
see, back then it would have been like that. It's like, hey, back then they would have just been like, hey, we're going to hand you over to your father, and then your father would have, brought down the wrath of God upon you. But now, I mean, the way that I shouldn't say people, the way that the system is designed now is, any sort of anything is just they're going to prosecute to the maximum extent because for whatever reason. So, well, at least you didn't hit the Thunderbirds with a baseball bat.
No, I love the Thunderbirds.
All right, so this is the California code about train wrecking. Would you like me to read it? Because legalese is much fun. If they're charging him with a federal crime, I'm assuming, but that's what I think what the story said. But this is the California code, all right? So this is California Penal Code, Part 1 of Crimes and Punishments 25-680.4, which is part of Title 8 of Crimes Against the Person, 187 through 248. And then it's Chapter 5, Attempts to Kill, 217.1, 219.3. Chapter 5 was enacted, by the way, in 1872. Here's what it says, my friend. It says, every person who unlawfully throws out a switch, removes a rail, or places any obstruction on any railroad, good thing you didn't do this in California, your little penny stunt, with the intention of derailing any passenger, freight, or other train, car, or engine, and thus derails the same, who unlawfully places any dynamite. Did they have dynamite in 1872? I think they did. I think that's when it was.
Oh, yeah.
That was around when it was invented. Or other explosive material like what you're facing in your stomach today, Keith, or any other obstruction upon or near the track of any railroad with the intention of blowing up. Oh, that's a great long sentence. Or derailing of any such train, car, or engine, and thus blows up or derails the same. Or, this is a great sentence, or who unlawfully sets fire to any railroad bridge or trestle, it's a good word, trestle, over which any such train, car, or engine must pass with the I got to read that. I'm reading this on screen. I have to move my head really fast. With the intention of wrecking such train, car, or engine, and thus wrecks train, is guilty of a felony. Ding! See, I hadn't gotten that far, so now we know it's a felony, and punishable with death or imprisonment in the state prison for life without possibility of parole. I'll stop there because that's where we need it to be. So we discover it's a felony, and they can kill you for it. That's a hell of a thing. Mr. Moreno's allegedly has issues right now.
See, and you don't have to be a rocket scientist to be a train engineer, but you have to have some intelligence.
Right.
So for him to, government conspiracies, whatever, they're all over the place these days.
Right.
But to take the mental capacity and say, I'm going to run this train which weighs thousands of tons
right.
and try to make it swim.
Yeah.
There's something wrong there.
No, he wasn't trying to make it swim. He was trying to turn it. The only thing that made sense is he's trying to turn it into a projectile.
He was trying to make it into a torpedo.
It wasn't going to become a submarine and be like, that wasn't going to happen. I mean, I'm trying to do the mental gymnastics of I get
not possible, my friend.
I get that's been told to me many times. I meant
in this case, but whatever.
I get the notion that you can say, "Fuck it, I'm going to run through the thing," but then even I'm like, I'm only going to get so far. I'm really only going to destroy a lot of shitty cars in that parking lot, and that's going to be the end of it. And I'm just going to look like an ass if I allegedly do this, and that's it. I don't know.
Does it say he was injured?
Oh, it's a good question. Let me look. Was he injured? No one was injured, and the boat wasn't damaged. However, the train leaked. So no, he was not injured. Which is strange. Like, do they have seatbelts on trains? I guess they do.
I don't know. And I'm assuming it was not a passenger train, or we would hear more about it.
No, it's got to be
more about that.
It's in the Port of Los Angeles, which is shipping containers and all that shit. So it's not a passenger train. And again, I'm looking at the photo from it's not more than about 4 days ago. The ship is sitting literally in the middle of I'm guessing it's sort of not a levee, stupid. Like a causeway. That's it. It's kind of a causeway between one part of the port and then what looks like more of a commercial area on the other side. It's in the middle. So, even on, I don't know Mr. Moreno, but if I were to go dumb guy, smart guy, I would think they would both equally go, nah, that one ain't going to work. I mean, I think they would both equally say that. They would just go, nope, ain't going to happen. I'll tell you what, I'll just park the train. I'll come up with another plot to kill the deep state later. Right? I think that's what you got to do.
Yeah, you need to figure that one out.
I didn't see you on video for a second. I'm like, did he run to the bathroom? I
I was turning the volume down on my work computer.
Oh, all right. I don't have my mail up, by the way, so if you see mail, let me know.
All right.
All right, so you're listening to This Show is a JK. That's kind of the title that I've had to put into Apple Podcasts.
I like it.
So hopefully people will get the part, J/K means joke on the internet, and it means us. So This Show is a JK is kind of our working title. And we're glad you're with us. If you've been listening, all 6 listeners, we appreciate your listening to us. What else has been going on?
We actually received a compliment on my Facebook page.
You did? From whom?
We did. Her name is M.A. Lemons. I posted the link last night.
All right.
And she said, this is good. And she asked kind of some technical questions about how we are accomplishing it.
The magic of the
And I told her we live about 12 miles apart, and we do it over Skype, and you do all the work, and I just blabber off at the mouth. That's basically what happens here.
Well, now you have to suggest a topic, so I'll let you think about that a moment. But I want to thank Ms. Lemons for that nice compliment and welcome aboard as one of the loyal listeners. We'll give her a loyal listener card as soon as we create a loyal listener card. And as soon as we have that available, but we don't have that yet. So you know what I'm going to do starting tonight? I play this baseball game. It's called Out of the Park Baseball. It's issue number 21. I just got it. It came out about a week ago. But I have played it since, I think, edition, I want to say 8 or 9. And essentially what I do, and I had to, unfortunately, 2 seasons ago or 2 editions ago, I had to recreate it. But before that, I created a league based in California. I called it the Pacific Coast Baseball Association. And it has all these baseball teams that align sort of on the Pacific Coast and in California. And then I divide them up into Northern and Southern. And then I take control of one team. And then what I do, and you'll see this if you watch later, is I name all the people on my team after people I know. So there'll be a Stefan, there'll be a Keith, there will be some people. I literally just sit there and go, oh, I know him, I'll put him in there. I usually put a couple of women in there as well. So I'll put Annabelle in there, but I usually call her A/B tutor or something like that. So what I thought I would do to offer teleworkers is I'm going to call each game like a baseball thing, and that way I can simulate my season. People can watch the games and hang out or whatever, and that could be kind of fun. So that's what I'm doing at 9:00 tonight. If you want to tune in,
okay.
You're like, what? I'm just passing the time,
baseball,
man.
But anything else concerning baseball, I'm just not.
No.
But that brings me to the topic. You said figure out a topic. Here we go.
All right, go.
We had this conversation the other day.
All right.
As part of this, when we decided, okay, we're by God going to do this. Growing up, you and I played a lot of different sports. Mm-hmm. What was your favorite sport growing up? What kinds of things did you do growing up?
So my favorite sport was American football. And I think my mother wanted me to play that professionally, but I weighed 143 pounds until I was 26 years old. Now, this is important because I am 6 feet 3 inches tall, although I think I'm starting to get that old age shrink down a little bit, so I'm probably more like 6'2" now. But I've been 6'3" my whole life with bad posture. So she thought that I was going to be like a linebacker or a defensive lineman or something like that. And I was fine. I was good at it. But I didn't weigh more than 143 pounds until I was 27.
That's what I weigh right now.
Well, but you're like 5'3" or something like that, right? So
I'm 5'10". Shut up.
So anyway, she said, oh, we need to gain weight. So she would do all these things to try to get me to gain weight, right? So she would go to the store and buy all this wheat germ and stuff it into all my food. We'd have steak. She'd make sure I'd eat 2 portions. I wouldn't gain a pound, and I didn't exercise worth a shit. So I knew, it wasn't going to work. And then when I turned 26, I found out that I had cancer. So as my phone goes off, I found out I had cancer, so I had to go through some radiation therapy and some other things. And after that, I started to kind of in the recovery phase. We were out at breakfast one morning. I went home. I said, oh, I'm up to 155. Good. I'm putting on a little weight. That's good. That was a good sign. It means I was putting on weight through my cancer stuff. It was all good. And then like 2 weeks later, I was 160, or not 2 weeks, but then I was 165, and then I was 175. And eventually I was like 215. I went, whoa, where did all that come from? So that's when I started putting on the weight. So I really enjoyed American football. It's what I grew up with. Baseball was kind of a 1A or a 2. I never really got into basketball, though I was tall, because 6'3" is usually for like good for a shooting guard or something like that. And then it kind of fell off after that. I didn't really give a shit about it. I got into hockey really late. Like I really like hockey. Hockey is probably my 1A, 2 sport behind American football and baseball. Those three are kind of in the triumvirate for me. But I didn't learn hockey until I stayed in the dorms as a military guy, and somebody said, okay, this is how this works. And I was actually learned the game by playing on Sega. That's how I got my hockey knowledge. And my favorite team is the Detroit Red Wings, even though I'm a Californian, because the Detroit Red Wings were the team I had to take in Sega in order to compete in the tournaments that people were playing. So those are probably my favorites. I was a D&D nerd. I was a bookish guy. I was a drama guy. So, I still played sports, but, football was probably the biggie. What was yours again? I don't remember. I
loved football. I just wasn't built for football.
American football.
I was just small.
Right.
My first year playing football was coincidentally enough in Wiesbaden, Germany.
Uh-huh.
And I was 8 years old, weighed 43 pounds, and started in a platoon situation. Every other play, I brought in the play, left guard. So they called me Mosquito because I was so small, but when I hit you, it stung a little bit.
You bled? Oh, okay.
So, no, not me.
When I hit you, I sucked the blood out of your arm.
That's right. And then I went, to basketball, and for years up until I was a freshman or sophomore in high school, mm-hmm. I just did that rotation of football to basketball to baseball. 1 year, I don't remember what season it was, but a hockey season. When a couple of years when we were. I can't believe I'm bringing up Scott Air Force Base twice in one show. Mm-hmm. But Scott Air Force Base, the youth center had gym hockey. So it was everything but the ice and the skates, right, and the big pads. You did have a helmet, you had gloves, you had sticks, and you had a lighter puck. Okay. I played 2 years of gym hockey, mm-hmm. and I loved that. But, once I got into, a sophomore in high school and realized – holy shit, everybody's a lot bigger than me now.
Right.
That kind of ended my sports career.
Yeah.
My dad still thinks I could have played college baseball anyway, but, by that time, I was burned out.
That's what
parents... And I played when I wanted to.
Parents always want the best for you, right? They always think they always see you as something, they see good things in you and they go, I bet you could do this well, or I bet you could, play college ball, or you could be a football player or something like that. And, I think they mean the best, or they are maybe channeling something that they wanted to do when they were younger and hoping that maybe you carry on that or something like that. I've heard that too. And I don't know what it was with my mom. She just was, she very much liked that I played football. I played in Pop Warner, as we called it in California. I don't know if they called it that same out anywhere else. And so she really wanted me to do that, but I was too slight. I was too, and the metabolism was just going so fast. It wasn't going to get any better. It was just, this is the way it was going to be. And, that was it, So I remember how happy she was when I caught my first touchdown as a tight end. She was freaking over the moon. So, that was a big deal. Did you get hurt a lot when you played sports, or did you basically come out unscathed? Because I didn't get hurt a lot. I had bad knees, but I didn't really realize it until later on, much later on in my Air Force career. But for the most part, I played okay. I
would get hurt for a play or a play or two. The first year I played again in Wiesbaden, I didn't get hurt at all. In fact, I got people on the other teams that get past that kid. See how small he is, and right. I just laugh. And then they raised the age limit, so I couldn't play again. So I played soccer, which I wasn't really excited about. But And then again, when I got to Scott in 1980, we had so many in my age group that they actually made two teams. And of course, I didn't realize it at the time, but of course, because of my size, I was put on the second team, if you will, and became the quarterback. So I got beat up a little bit then, but nothing that kept me out except one time, and I was playing defense. I remember this like it was yesterday. It was in Granite City, Illinois. We were playing in Granite City. And this big old fullback came through the line, and I got down, and I couldn't have been 8 inches off the ground. I was trying to hit him low,
right?
Because I knew it was going to hurt.
Right.
He got his helmet down, and the next thing I know, I remember I dove at him. The next thing I know, I'm laying on my back, and I roll over to try to get up and go chase him, and there was no way in hell I was getting up. And my dad told me later, the referee's standing over me. How many fingers am I holding up? How many, blah, blah, blah. Coach is there. And my dad told me later on the way home, he said, if you'd have been on the ground for about another minute, I was coming out on the field.
That was me, by the way.
I got up and, sat out some plays. The next time we went on offense, there I was back at quarterback. So there you have it.
Yeah, I was fortunate. I didn't, no big bad injuries when I was younger. But we need to talk about on a future show though is, did you do a lot of drama then, or did you get into that late? I don't want to go too deep into this because I think that's a separate show. But I'm curious.
I did the requisite elementary stuff.
Okay.
But then didn't get into it until 6 years ago.
Okay, so it's recent. All right, cool. We'll have to talk more about that at another time. What do you think we are going to do when the COVID crisis is over? What are the things you see like we're not going to get back, or what do you think we're going to like? What do you think we're going to keep? Maybe that's a good question. Do you see anything now that's going to be like, oh, that's not going away, or maybe it's good that happened? I think one thing that's going to happen more, that's forcing businesses more to do, is they're going to change their business model more to more of a order it online, come pick it up at the store, and push that more. I noticed today when I was at the BX, they've set up some sort of kiosk out there or some sort of thing out there where I guess you can order from the store and pick it up outside. So I think that sort of business is going to become big. And then also I think maybe I think food delivery services industries are going to go up. I know Uber does it, but I think the services that are in business to deliver food are going to streamline and become better. So those are a couple things I was just thinking about. What about you?
I think people, a couple of things, and they're kind of intertwined here.
Okay.
I think people will start paying attention to the healthcare workers, to the food servers, to the people that, quote unquote,
teachers,
were not mission essential.
Teachers.
And teachers, thank you. I've got 1 million teachers on my Facebook as
I said
friends.
it 3 times.
And you happen to be married to one, of course.
Yeah.
So teachers that have not been, quote unquote, mission essential, I think that will tie into a raise of a minimum wage eventually. And then I think, just me, now don't get me wrong. I have friends who I love being around. I love game nights and things like that. So me sitting at home doing nothing because I have no friends right now other than the ones I work with, whom I love, it's driving me crazy. But
no, I get it.
I think social distancing will stick around in some form or another. People will go, okay, maybe a form of PTSD because of this? I don't need to be around people. I don't need to be close to people. Hey, it's good to see you 6 feet away, but I don't need to be close to you. I don't need to hug you anymore. Let me give me an elbow bump, and I'm good. Love you. Bye.
Thanksgivings are going to change. You think something like that? All your relatives can just stand 6 feet from each other as they eat the turkey. That would be so bad.
As long as that won't happen.
As long as they, yeah. I think it's an interesting point you bring up on the wage thing. I don't see that changing, but. Like any government or bureaucratic system, I do see them finding another word for essential, because I think there's a good argument to say that if the subway sandwich person who I bought my food from today is essential, and she's serving food, and when I have to pay, I have to get within 6 feet. I just have to. I have to have my card, and even though there's that wonderful sneeze guard in place that they mounted, she is essential, right? Or, whatever term they want to use. And as I saw jokingly on my Facebook wall today, it's funny, I see that I'm an essential worker, but my paycheck looks the same. So, I mean, there's something to that. There's something that says, oh, you are absolutely essential, but you may not have ever known that you were essential all of a sudden. All of a sudden, you're just at work and doing things that nobody else is doing while other people are home, probably making the same wage, or maybe they're not making a wage at all. But I think that'll be another paradigm shift, too. It'll either go the way you said it, where they will perhaps be paid a better wage, or something will happen to their status, or they'll just find a different word for it and say, oh, you're not essential, you are whatever widget, whatever the word will be, which always seems to be the way to go. We don't have accidents, we have pilot-induced stops. I don't know, whatever the bureaucratic word for crash is. Baffling government and bureaucracies find a way to minimize the sort of impact that these wonderful people have on the front lines, the first responders, again, the people serving us food, to a large degree, the people in the BX who are keeping that store open so you don't have to go crazy, so you can go in there, walk around for a bit, get your essential items, and walk out. I mean, I think there is a ground for these folks, and I think you're absolutely right. I think something's got to bend there. I think you're right. I think something's got to bend there. I think the other thing that could change. You talked about the social distancing thing. That's an interesting point, the PTSD thing. I think the people who are really suffering here are people who like to get out and hike and golf, and who are, I don't know, for lack of a better word, outdoors people. And I think you could still get outdoors, and you could, but I don't know how many hiking trails or other things are closed in certain municipalities. I would think they are closed because they would allow people to congregate and blah, blah, blah. But I think that sort of PSD could be interesting, because if you're not exercising that muscle to go do that, if in X number of months, because we're 2 months into this now? We're at least a month into stay your ass at home, but we're probably 2 months into the whole crisis. We're going to be 2 months quarantine and 3 months into the crisis, maybe longer. So when that muscle's not moving, you're going to change habits, right? You're going to change the things you like or don't like. I mean, we started a podcast, right? I mean, that's something we're doing. And if it turns out good, we're going to keep doing it. So it'll be interesting to see. One friend of mine said, my husband's going to get to see my natural hair color for the first time because I can't get out and get it colored or something like that, right? Or I can't go by I don't know if she colors her own hair, but she said, my husband's going to see my hair color, and that's that. And I was like, that's interesting. I never really thought of something that way. But, like Dee Dee gets her nails done regularly. She can't get that done. In fact, she had to order acetone from a vendor in order to take her nails off. So it's these little things, little habits that are going to change, I think, that are really going to make a difference. What do you think, aside from what you said?
I think you're absolutely right. Mm-hmm. Nothing, at least me being here by myself, I've got the entrance to about 8 miles of walking trails right outside my front door.
Right.
And in the 9 months I've been here, I've used them maybe 4 times.
Right.
But now that I have to stay home, chances are they'll get used by me a lot. And right. I make fun of it. I take pictures all the time because I see a menagerie of animals and their owners walk by my window down the street to get to the walking trails. I saw a horse the other day, a young teenager on a horse the other day when it was so nice last week. So people are out and about using them. And that's what I try to say is you don't have to stay in your house. You can go out, take a walk around the block.
Right.
You can go out to the playground. Don't touch the equipment. But you can be there and at least get some sun on your face. I know, where I left, again, in Oklahoma, it's been in the 70s all week.
Right.
So, you can get out. You can get some vitamin D. Now, one thing I do want to say is I left a very important group out that's considered not mission essential, if you will, or now they are, is the healthcare workers.
Right. They're good.
My question to you is, because I'm diabetic, because you've gone through cancer treatment, do you think this will change the healthcare system?
No, but I don't think it'll change the system. I think what will change is is the thing that we've talked about before, which is not a lot of people had big plans in place to handle pandemic.
Right.
And here's a pandemic that sort of came out of nowhere. And so what will happen with, will there be planning, like in the military, will there be planning alongside of, wars on two fronts and other things, natural disasters, earthquakes and things like that in Haiti and, the 9/11s of the world and tidal waves? Are we going to take out the pandemic book? And we know there's a pandemic book in the federal government somewhere and in FEMA, and so, but it's, as somebody I know noted, might have been you, but I think somebody else said, it's probably from the 1970s or something like that, and it's just not something people go, we've got that, we've got vaccines, we killed polio 50 years ago, whatever comes, we can take care of it. And, we still have a hard time in places containing Legionella, which ain't going to go away, and that's a bacteria. So here we have this virus that's spread around the world that potentially could kill 200,000 people in the United States. I don't think the system itself will change. I think because first it starts with money, right, and resources, and how those resources are allocated by people who, he who makes the gold makes the rules sort of people. But I do think what will happen is let's bulk up our planning for pandemics, and maybe let's make our real-world exercises that hospitals occasionally do, that federal government does, that others do. Let's make one of those exercises pandemic to see if we have enough ventilators, to see if we have enough X or masks or whatever. Now, this is, you and I both know, this is an exceptional situation. And the draw on masks and ventilators is crazy. I mean, we run out now. Auto companies are making ventilators. Dee was telling me about a company in Seattle that used to make auto parts, and they thought they were going to go out of business. And then one company called them and said, hey, can you make parts for ventilators? So they basically made similar parts, but they said, can you make them smaller? And the company said, yeah. And then within a week, they were inundated by hundreds of companies going, hey, we need you to build these parts. So it was an interesting story. I guess it was on NPR. So, sorry, long way around saying, no, I don't think the healthcare industry as a whole is going to change because that's not how the money's routed. But I do think just internally, as you and I do, we would say, okay, we should probably have a plan in place for pandemic. It's one of those plans you're not going to pull off the shelf except every 20 years, but there should be some coding or some reminders or something in EOC, which is an insider baseball thing, or something elsewhere that says, okay, it's been 6 months, update the pandemic plan, or it's been a year, update the pandemic plan. That's where I think the change is going to come. And
that's good. I'm like you. There's too much money in insurance, in big pharma. Don't get me started on big pharma as a diabetic man. Wow. So yeah, I don't think I think it may change over time, especially if depending on what president we get between here and the next 12 years or whatever. But I don't think it's a quick fix. No,
it's not. So we're getting close to the end here. You were talking about the member, Ellis Marsalis is who you were talking about. And so yes. Entertainment Weekly has a list of folks who have passed on. Let's browse that real quick. But before we do that, what was the thing I was just looking at? What were you looking at, dummy? Where'd it go? Oh, Jason.
That's usually what people ask me.
Yeah, because I wanted to tell you something about it. Now it's gone. Was it this? Was it? Oh, so the Adam Schlesinger was the lead singer's name of Fountains of Wayne. He also wrote the title song from the movie, which I really liked, That Thing You Do. Great song, great catchy tune. So he was obviously a gifted songwriter as well. Okay, so you mentioned Ellis Marsalis. We mentioned Adam Schlesinger, advertisement. Andrew Jack, I have no idea. And these are entertainment people, so I'll caveat this to anyone who's listening, saying they're not any more or less important than anybody else who's died. These are just noteworthy because of the audiences they have. So Andrew Jack is a longtime Hollywood dialect coach and an actor who played a supporting role in Star Wars. He died March 31st. He was 76. I think that age is noteworthy. But this one is too. Oh, no, he was 59. Former trumpeter Wallace Roney, I think it's Roney. Ken Shimura, he was a comedian. He was 70. So these are older folks. Alan Merrill, singer-songwriter, he was 69. But you know what he wrote that everybody likes? I love rock and roll, so put another dime in the jukebox, baby. Right. He wrote that song.
Oh, Joan Jett.
Originally released in 1975 when he was a band called the Arrows, and then Joan Jett picked it up, and you know how huge a hit it was for her. You mentioned Joe Diffie. He was 61. He died of complications of it. His hits were, If You Want To, Home, Whole Lotta Gone, Country, The Quittin' Kind, Texas Size Heartache. Many of you know the rest. Mark Blum, another stage actor. He was in Crocodile Dundee, Desperately Seeking Susan. I sort of recognize his face, but not really. Floyd Cardoz, I don't know him. Let me see. Top Chef Masters winner. Okay, he was 59. I think the ages, again, are noteworthy. Terrence McNeely is a playwright. None of which... Oh, he wrote the play for Kiss of the Spider Woman. He died on March 24th. He was 81. And then the last one they list is Lucia Bose, I think, Italian actress. She was 89. So, not that we're saying that very old people listen to our podcast, but it does say something about that if you're of a certain age, you're probably more vulnerable to this. And that was pretty much said early on anyway, right? If you are above, AARP age, which is like 50, 51, which is me, I guess, and you are below a certain age, which is small children and things like that, you are susceptible of dying of it more so than others. And I think the part of the problem here is, Keith, is that there are a number of healthy people who are of 20s, 30s age who understand that their immune systems are great, and they live in a certain a certain slice of the world where they have access to medical care quickly, and they can do all these different things. And they know they're not going to get sick, but they're also saying, why is everybody making a big deal of it? Well, it's because all these other people can get very sick, and they can die. I read a great thing this morning, and it was interesting. I'm not sure it's exactly true, but it is interesting. It was just this corollary that all these preventative measures are measures that can be taken by rich people. And I was like, okay, how so? It's like, well, if you can wash your hands, that means you have running water. Or if you can do X, that means you have this, which means you have money. So that was an interesting thing. And then the sort of wrap-up of it was it's a disease that rich people brought back, and it's killing poor people. And I don't necessarily agree with that, because the effort that's being made to help prevent it and to help stave off the disease and to treat is being done for rich or poor otherwise. But it was an interesting angle to take on all that. So anyway, that's the last part of that. We need to wrap on something positive. What do you got that's positive or funny?
Man, I was going to ask a question about that, but I will save it till next time.
Save it.
What do I have that's positive?
Funny.
Let's see. Oh, well, here's something.
The thing is, folks, I told him not to prepare at all. So it's fair that he's grumbling. So I'm just seeing a headline, and that's it. O.J. Simpson. Oh, it's already good.
Is convinced Carol Baskin killed her husband.
Oh, shit. We should have led with that.
And that's, of course, on TMZ. Courtesy of TMZ. O.J. Simpson convinced, I won't use the other phrase, O.J. Simpson convinced Carol Baskin killed her husband. There you go.
That is fantastic. Oh, where is that headline? I got to see it. So basically what TMZ is saying with that headline is, as you know, OJ is a subject matter expert on this.
Oh, the irony, right? The irony.
Oh, my God. Oh, ridiculous. So so on a sports note, apparently Patriots owner Robert Kraft sent the team jet to China and brought 1.2 million masks to China. Oh, brought back 1.2 million N95 masks. So that's. I mean, again, the corollary that I mentioned earlier is kind of faulted by the fact that, again, there's a lot of really good things going on to help stave this off. A lot of really good things, and even when there are bubbles of that guy's an asshole, he's making his people work or whatever, there's still a lot of good that's happening. So, O.J. Simpson,
look around our garrison and see the hard work that's being done to not only push information out, but to continue the mission, if you will, from home, from those that are actually in the office. It's really amazing, and it's it's very cool to watch. Even if you're sitting at home, you know the machine is still turning because of great people making a turn.
Props to everyone who's, been declared essential, including you and I, and folks who are keeping the machine running. But there are a few standouts. Let's talk about our postal workers who are still bringing in personal mail here overseas. And that is a secondary mission for them. The first mission is military mail. They do personal mail because they have the capacity to do it. They don't have to, but they do. Now, there are many people who grumble about that, but the reality is they don't have to do personal mail, but they do. The police who are standing at the gates, the pond guards who are standing at the gates, the police who are on patrols.
Hold on. The pond guards are the gate guards at the military installations. Yeah. They are contract guards, and the contract company is called Ponds. So that's why we say they're the pond guards. They're not out guarding a pond.
It's pond, not ponds.
Pond.
Everybody says ponds, though, because it's easier, I think. Firefighters, you could go on and on. But there's, our DPW guys, the Department of Public Works, who are still going on the most urgent calls to fix things in housing, and so on and so on. So, kudos to them. Again, it's a tremendous effort that's going on around the world because the virus is an around-the-world problem, and I think it's being addressed well. How about that? We did another hour. Are you happy?
Are you?
I'm pleased. I have to pee.
Good. I didn't have to run away. That's
I have to pee very badly, but I'm pleased. I don't know why I said that on the air, but yeah, I've got to go to the bathroom. So anyway, we are pleased that you joined us for another edition of This Show is a JK. My name is Jason, and that is Keith. You can pick up our podcast on iTunes, on Spreaker, on Google Play, on Spotify, and almost anywhere else where you can get a good podcast. If you want more information about the podcast, you can go to our Instagram, which is the Real JK Podcast, and maybe I'll make Keith start posting things for that so that he has something to do.
For the love of God.
Yeah. And you can also go to my website. I'll have some information on the podcast up there soon. That's jasontudor.com. Thanks once again for joining us for a little bit of conversation. Next week, we will dig into Keith's want to get on stage and expose himself. And we'll talk about, or next week, the next time we are free, which is, I'm guessing next week will be Tuesdays and Thursdays, but we'll figure it out. We're going to do these as often as we can, and then we will release them in the night. And thank you for joining us. Say goodbye, Keith.
Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for listening.